delighted to be here today to talk to you in relation to Founders Friday in May. My name is Sheila Ramshaw and I'm an associate with Sintons. As part of my role, I assist in the regulatory team, and one of my jobs is to look after health and safety matters. As far as new businesses are concerned, there is a massive amount to work out and to go through, but health and safety is important and it mustn't be missed off your initial list. So I've got the slides and we're going to go through them one by one. It's not the most exciting of subjects, but as I say, it is important, so please take note. Health and safety offences. Now you will see on the slide, it's the Health and Safety at Work, etc. Act of 1974, which is quite a long time ago, but this law still applies today. In it, there is a strict liability, which basically means that anybody who employs staff has to follow these acts and they must abide by the rules. Section 2 of the Act is the duty on the employer to ensure, as far as is reasonable, the welfare of all of their employees. Section 3 goes on, it's still a duty on an employer to undertake and ensure that where they can and where it is practicable, they make sure that people not in their employment are still not affected by any issues with health and safety. Now, in a nutshell, what that means is that as an employer, if you do have any staff, you are obliged and actually in the Act you are, it is an insistence that you make sure that all of your staff have been properly trained to an adequate standard and to ensure that the welfare of the staff whilst in the working day are looked after. Essentially, getting help with health and safety. Now, that is something I would urge you to do, especially in the early stages of setting up a business. You don't have to have a formal qualification, and it's certainly not required by law that you are a health and safety expert, but it wouldn't do you any harm to have some understanding and certainly to read up and get a basic certificate on the do's and don'ts in health and safety. A brush up of the Act, just reading the relevant sections would be sufficient. A lot of businesses now do employ a person, a health and safety expert, if you will, to come into the business to offer guidance and to support with policies and procedures. As part of my role, I do actually become involved in businesses who need assistance with policy writing. So, as I say, in the early stages, it's not essential that you go to that expense, but certainly businesses do progress and they do get wheels very quickly. So it is important to keep your eye on your policies. If there's any changes, certainly make sure that you are rewriting as the business develops and grows. The UK law states every business must have a policy for managing health and safety. Importantly, if you have 5 employees or more, you must have a written statement. This is very important. It is law and it is a requirement. So make sure that if you are employing staff and it's past the 5 people point, make sure that there is a policy written down. There is a breakdown on the Health and Safety Executive website, and I would urge you to have a look at that as it's a very useful tool. I have taken a copy of the form and we'll quickly go through that now. So 3 areas, when you're writing this policy, the statement must have these 3 areas included in it. The first is the statement of intent. The second is the responsibilities for health and safety. And the third is arrangements for health and safety. This is the HSE template, and again, I would suggest that for the early stages, you just use this as a template and complete it. Take a hard copy of the file and keep it somewhere in the office. So part one, the statement of intent. Now, basically, this is a breakdown of what you plan to do. So, for example, it's a commitment from you as the management to what you entail with health and safety, and it has to be signed by the senior person within the organisation. If there's any changes, if you decide to add ideas to your policy, then you would have to revise that, review it, and put the new date. Responsibilities, again, this is the people in roles that you haven't given responsibilities to. So you will see overall and final responsibility for health and safety. Generally, that is a more senior member of staff. You name that person and you will spell out what the responsibilities are. It could be things for welfare facilities to make sure that there is adequate cleaning materials within the washrooms, stuff like that. You see further down, ensuring health and safety standards are maintained and improved, and that the following people are responsible for these areas. And again, it's just naming them and a brief description of the health and safety duties that have been given to each individual. The arrangements for health and safety. Now you will see here that there is risk assessment at the very top. Risk assessments are a huge helpful tool that I would urge everybody to start writing up as soon as they start working for themselves or employing others. Basically, a risk assessment is exactly that. You are going in, you are assessing a risk. Now, again, huge areas of industry. In construction, for instance, this would be something that would be a lot more onerous to do because there is a high risk of an accident or an incident taking place. If you're going to be office-based or if you have catering facilities, then again, risk assessments are a tool that you will have to complete. If you were opening a restaurant or a cafe, risk assessments would be things like manual handling, using knives, working at height if you have stock that you have to access from a ladder, things like that. Now, again, HSE's website's very helpful and they have got template risk assessments for you to be able to have a look at, and they give examples of what you should include in these. Going down this list, basically you are giving details of practical arrangements that you have in place, and you show that how you're going to achieve these. The training is very, very vital, so make sure that you put that in there. Consulting your staff is very important. It's a two-way tool. It's not just you barking orders at people and telling them what they have to do. A lot of help comes from your employees who are doing the job, and they are the ones that see if there's an element of risk somewhere, and their suggestions will be very helpful in you completing these forms. The health and safety law poster is again something that HSE have urged people, and again it is in the legislation that you have to, by law, have this poster in an area of your workplace that is open for everybody to see. So make sure you display it. Generally, people will, if you have a reception area, it will be there. If you have a back of house where people are going to make a cup of tea, it's in there. You will see on this poster that there is a blank box which basically gives you the will to write down who it is that's responsible for the health and safety of the workplace. And again, that is usually a senior manager or somebody that's higher up the pecking order. The poster you can order, it's about £10 to order from the HSE website. And again, that is something that they would expect if they were coming out to visit you. It's the first, they have a crib sheet of what they check for, and that is the top of their list. Do not fall foul of this, because it's a very heavy financial penalty if you fail to have this in your workplace. The poster, as I've said, explains the health and safety laws in a nutshell. It's a very basic poster, but make sure that you have got that on display. Risk assessments I've already covered. Make sure that it's a two-way consultation. First aid in the workplace, again, is something that if you are employing staff, the expectation is that you would have a qualified first aider on site in your premises. Again, it's a certificate. The general certificate is a three-day course. I know St John Ambulance provide that. There's many providers, and it's something that you can find online if you just type in first aid certificate. Make sure that you have a first aid kit. Again, that is something that HSE are now expecting people to have within the workplace. It's certainly not something too onerous. It's just to make sure that there's something on hand for the incidents and accidents at the first occasion. Have the right workplace facilities. I do site visits. It's an audit prior to an inspection taking place, and I find a lot of companies fall foul of just not having the workplace facilities available. It's simple things, having a hand towel and soap and water. Some people have the basins there, but they haven't set up, believe it or not, water just to run from the taps. So it's very simple things, but the expectation is that they are in place. Report certain accidents and illnesses to HSE. Now, it doesn't cover everything. If there has been a major accident, then the expectation is that you would report this through a line called RIDOR, which is Reporting of Injuries, Diseases and Dangerous Occurrences Regulations. This is the more life-threatening incidents that would be expected to be reported. If the HSE deemed it serious enough, they would actually come out to site where the accident or incident had occurred to make up their own minds whether they wanted to prosecute or not. Don't be put off by all of this. Generally, an accident at work, they're more slips, trips, falls, which generally are a couple of days off work, and then everybody's better and comes back. But just be aware that if it were more serious, then HSE would have to be brought in. Have insurance in place. Again, business insurance. Make sure that if you're employing people, you do have your employer's liability insurance, but also if you're providing a service to the public, make sure that you have public liability insurance in place as well. It doesn't cost very much, and it's certainly something valuable if there were somebody that wanted to sue you. Two aspects to health and safety at work. There's the criminal side and the civil side. As you will see, and as I've talked about, the criminal side is if it's deemed that you as an employer have been negligible and one of your employees has had an accident at work, and HSE come in, decide that you have been negligent, then they will prosecute and you will go through the criminal courts, and it's not a nice experience. I do go to the courts on a regular basis. Generally, in my experience, the clients I've defended have had financial penalties, but if it is more serious, then there is the aspect of a imprisonable offence as well. On the other side, we have the civil law, which is for an employee if they did have an accident at work. It's a bit of a double whammy because if you go through the criminal side, it isn't either or. Civil side is generally that they want to sue the company, sue you, and that is where the compensation claim comes in, and your business insurance would hopefully kick in. So from the last slide, make sure insurance is in place. That is a very whistle-stop tour of health and safety at work. Alongside that, you notice I didn't mention COVID, but the local authorities at the moment, environmental health, are very hot on going out on spot checks and visiting premises to make sure that people have their COVID policies in place. So alongside risk assessments, make sure you have a COVID policy as well. Like I say, for more information, go onto HSE's website, or certainly if you need any more help from myself, get in touch with the usual way, and I'll be happy to assist. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.